Good afternoon. So clearly, I've changed locations. Um, last video got cut off, so I'm gonna go back just a little bit to make sure anything that I missed gets included. Man, this is absolutely gorgeous. It's 75. Just came from Fall Festival at the church, and yeah, just a nice day. I was about to start relaxing for a couple hours, but I felt like I needed to take advantage of the energy on the universe today, on the earth today, in the universe, on the earth. Um, so I was talking about Omar, and I was talking about why I connect to him. Um, I think we have it in common that we choose the hard way to go, and I may have at least as intentionally, or more, even more intentionally than Omar. I have prided myself. I would celebrate that, almost wear it as a badge of honor that I was going the hard way, that I chose on the hard way. I think of it now probably as some vanity, but at the time I felt like it was a broader perspective on suffering and me trying to embrace it. It's probably somewhere in between those two extremes, but yeah, it's been a part of my way I see myself my whole life. So I'm glad it came up for him because that allows it to come up for me. I think I also mentioned that the reason why I use quotes from movies and shows is because I've noticed that I choose my entertainment intentionally to line up with what I'm going through personally, which I'm sure is strange. Uh, Maybe not, but it feels strange because I had no idea until I started doing this work. And then I'm like, why is every character on every show that I watch going through some similar life transition and usually some kind of intentional therapy that I am? What's that about? Uh, okay, so next is this link from openculture.com. Aldous Huxley, dying cancer left the world tripping LSD experience. I went on to talk about how a friend of mine is taking LSDs in a study. I think it's Johns Hopkins. He's a ministry guy from Birmingham, and he's in a study to see what the effects of LSD might be on a person that has post-traumatic stress disorder. Right now, there are no effective treatments for PTSD. It's kind of one of those things you guys have to deal with. But they're experimenting, and I think they're finding great success. Uh, Also, there's a link here for The Life Aquatic, which is a movie, again, that I thought I had seen and knew, but when I watched it again, it's just like I've never seen it before. And the reason why I include that second link, I'm not sure why I included the first link. I think I may have included the first link because there's chronic illness and there is this embracing of death or embracing of mortality, might be a better way to put it. But this link is here because I'm saying to myself, the form of the movie Life Aquatic is meta modern, that's what they call it. And I made a note to myself that perhaps there are some lessons in irony and voice from the meta modern form I can use. There's a link here from Amazon called Good Girls Revolt, uh, from Newsweek Workplace. I just didn't know the story, but apparently this is historical. So here's a new idea that just came to mind as I was watching the pilot intro to Amazon Prime's Good Girls Revolt, and Rolling Stone's Gimme Shelter is playing in the background. Superstitions make us feel safe. I think that was a line. I think that was a line that the character had. The song took me to a place, but then there was a line in the second episode: "Superstitions make us feel safe." I don't think that's a line in the song. I'm almost certain it's not. And here's the idea that came from thinking about that. What if I told the story of writing the hero's journey chronologically as a news reporter describing my own process, given the current climate and happenings, from Trump and the pandemic to George Floyd, and it says bomb. I'm not sure. What does it say bomb? Oh, Black Lives Matter. It should be BLM. Black Lives Matter. And Stacey Abrams and Georgia to Biden and the president, using Facebook and Twitter as primary sources, like a Brighton Beach memoir. So this is just a structure, style choice that I'm considering making. So I think that catches us up with what I thought we'd cover, but then when I reviewed the second video, I noticed it wasn't there. So continuing, there is a episode, I want to say it's episode 7 of season 1 of Mad Men, called The Hobo Code. And if you've seen it, you remember, but apparently for a large portion of the 20th century, there was a class of individuals who were homeless, but somehow had some kind of status. I guess the reason I say they had status is because part of the difference, part of the status that comes with being a hobo is movement and employment. So a lot of these guys relied on the train, jumping on trains to get around and to live and sleep. So there's an episode called The Hobo Code where Don Draper, and I don't remember what the context was, but he goes through some situation. It might even be smoking weed for the first time or something. And then this memory is triggered where he remembers being a kid, working on a farm. Uh, his mother had died in childbirth, and his dad, so he was raised by his dad and his dad's wife, which was not his mom, of course, because apparently Don's dad met his mom at a brothel or whatever. Uh, but Don is working on the farm in this very unhappy childhood. And there is a guy that comes up one day who's a hobo who's asking for food. And Don's dad is very kind of aggressive and doesn't want to help him, but some kind of way, I think his wife is also outside and she kind of invites him to stay the night and eat with them. Apparently, there is no work for the day, which is what the hobo has asked for, and I'm sure he's expecting some kind of payment or food in exchange. But since there's no work, the wife invites him to stay for the day and then eat and then work the next day. Uh, so there's a connection that happens between Don, little boy Don, looks like he's about 9 maybe, and Don's and the hobo. And the hobo reveals what is called the hobo code, which is a real thing, right? And it is a way that hobos would would write on some fence or mailbox or some part of the property so that when other hobos came by and considered approaching a house, they'd have information about how they could expect to be received. So that's the hobo code. It's actually drawings that these guys would make for each other to keep themselves safe. There's so much in that that I want to explore. I'm just not sure. Safety, of course, is a key idea, and one of the key ideas here. Uh, how have I kept myself safe? Kept myself safe as I've moved across the country and met so many strangers and been welcomed and received by so many different groups. And it's easy for me. I don't think anything of it, but there's this intuitive code, I'm sure, that I've employed that I'm not conscious of, which it would be cool to explore that possibly in the survival chapter 2. But anyway, I have a couple of pictures of that code. Well, the kinds of things the code show is, the man is dishonest, which is the mark that the hobo puts after he is turned away without compensation for his day's work. The next day, the hobo has left a mark that this man is dishonest. Um, there's a podcast called The Stoop that I really want to explore so that I make sure that I include enough Black culture, African diaspora culture in the book. I think that's an important factor. I plan to write my kind of child upbringing process, tell the story of being a kid, and so it was obvious that I was going to include a lot of cultural language and stories and images and all that stuff there, but it might also be worthwhile to sprinkle throughout the book a continuation of that, because that's not something that everybody is used to reading about, particularly in a book that's not about that. Another one of my very favorite movies of all time is the Chorus Line musicals, but they turned into a movie. There is a documentary where they're telling this story again, and I can't think of the name of it. But anyway, I think it's one of the songs. But anyway, I make myself a note to consider the structure and content of Chorus Line. I think I download the musical. I think I download the musical, yeah. And there is a note here. I am Cassie. They changed the ending, but in real life, Cassie doesn't get the job. So, of course, Chorus Line, and this connects to me on so many different ways. Chorus Line is a musical about casting a musical of chorus dancers. That's what it is. So, the process that I'd like to employ to finish book 2 is including stories of people, of lived experiences, not just mine, but other people. That's why we're going to start having events in the community to facilitate that. So there's something that Chorus Line has already done that signals me that this is not only is it a great idea, but it's historical in its implications, monumental in its implications, and historical in its process. Uh, so in real life, the character that became known in the musical as Cassie doesn't get the job, but for the show, they let Cassie get the job because the audience didn't like the ending, which is also really interesting and could be explored. I don't know if I'll get time to do that. Another thing I have written is, and who knows that better than me? I am Cassie. This is me talking to myself. Also, What I Did for Love is an alternative title for the book. The theme of love hides behind so many structures in this piece. Very important for me to expose them. Note I'm writing to myself. I don't like to need love. Again, I'm talking about myself, but I do need it, not like it. So I hide it under theories and analysis. So I'm saying that here so I can expose that in the book because I think it'll be interesting to see that dance. I'm going to do a few more and then we'll stop the third video. I'm making a note to review Mr. Robot Season 3, Episode 1. I have a t-shirt link that I don't think has anything to do with the book. I think it's just for myself. Here are some other alternative titles. Restore Your Own Soul. There's a link there here for anxiety. Find Bliss in Your Trouble, which I would never use. Deep Dive into Your Wildest Dreams. I absolutely love this title, but I don't know if that's gonna. I don't know if I'm actually going to tell that story. So I don't know if I can have that be the title, even though I love it. Escape Your Own Expectations. I really like that title. but it may be something more like maybe a chapter. Maybe Wildest Dreams is a chapter too. I mean, when I say chapter, I mean subchapter. What makes a hero is a animation that I've used in many presentations that I've linked here. And we'll stop. Thanks.